Good day to you. This is Anagalactic on the 18th day of May. We're about at the middle of the equinox, the spring equinox, vernal equinox it is sometimes called, and we're now heading toward the summer solstice. So we will be beginning our solstice series in universal geometry, beginning in June officially, when I'll have more technology and a good deal more cohesion. This has been somewhat haphazard over the past 3 years because of the continuing discovery vector, which has engaged most of my attention, leaving me to basically let you keep up with my discoveries. That is turning out to be no longer adequate due to the nature of science itself, that it is synthetic and must pause from time to analyze its store of understanding in order to synthesize it into higher understanding, the goal of science and indeed of humanity in its rational aspect. Which comment serves to introduce our first topic today in an introductory series intended to give me a sense of coordination so I can analyze how this goes by feedback. I do view my own videos and learn a great deal from them in every way. Here, most pertinent, to organize a systematic approach to the amazing series of discoveries that have come my way, having potentially far-reaching effect. So to begin our series of brief presentations, I showed to our left here the word dichotomy, which will serve as a very good introduction because it involves confusion. Now, science is against confusion. However, the situation for humans is one of confusion. That's how we begin in this world, is totally confused. And in fact, science offers the blueprinted way out of that confusion. This has extraordinary religious repercussions. You'll see that religion is listed here. Let's get into this so we can complete this. A dichotomy is officially defined, at least in Wikipedia, as a division of a set of objects. It would be stated mathematically, whereby the two subsets are jointly exhaustive and mutually exclusive. That definition will not serve us, but I wanted to show you the little bit of the intricacy in such a simple concept as two subsets of a set. In our case, we're dealing with a binary relationship throughout. And you'll see 5 examples of that listed in indented representation here. The word that I will offer as a substitute for dichotomy, which is a word that I use in my own mind, but I don't think it's appropriate to extend the definition of a word unnecessarily if there is a sufficiently accurate replacement word. Therefore, my word dichotomy, I believe, is archaic from a strictly personal vantage. It serves me, but I don't believe it's appropriate in being as simple as possible and straightforward as possible. The correct word for what I am dealing with in this brief presentation is superposition. This is a term which was developed in the quantum mechanics part of physical science in order to describe a physical property which has been observed. It has led to an actual formulation of a new form of logic, sometimes called gate logic, but it's really quantum computing that deals with that subject, which can be explored to extraordinary effect, which I recommend to you if you're interested. Investigate something called the Bloch sphere, B-L-O-C-H. The Bloch sphere describes very adequately superpositional state logic, which is one of the hottest terms in computing right now. So without getting into that fascinating divergence, we'll proceed through this list quickly. The first superposition, which I in my own mind called it dichotomy, is the human and/or universe dichotomy, where we consider ourselves to be individual consciousnesses. As such, a conscious entity differs from the universe, in the sense at least of having life. Quite difficult to define precisely, because of course we're in the universe. So consciousness does exist in the universe, and this is superpositional, because the universe does not appear to us to be conscious, although in mysticism, which is a valid exploit of the human mind, although not, I would not say scientific. In fact, there's a definition from Oxford of dichotomy, which gives an example. This you'll see says Oxford Languages. There's no real link to this, so we have to just read it from the page, but it's attributed somehow to Oxford. And this is the example given for the word, a rigid dichotomy between science and mysticism. This is one reason why I have deprecated the use of the word dichotomy even in my own internal language, because I developed that word rather contrary to its strict meaning. And here is the strictest meaning. The example given is, and I'm just reading this, a rigid dichotomy between science and mysticism. Okay, now I just mentioned the word mysticism as being a valid exploit of humanity. I do believe this is a valid exploit due to the nature of the universe, where we find consciousness superimposed on universal structure. From our viewpoint, our aspect on the universe, it appears that consciousness is limited to human beings. That turns out to be somewhat illogical to say that, although that is hotly debated and always has been by the atheistic side of humanity, which is something one has to deal with as a human, which is another superposition. In order to get at that, we're going to go through this list to be sure that we know where we're going, because a tremendous failing of science throughout its history really has been to have no clear goal. In prior centuries, this was less of an obstacle, but today science is really split into two completely different aspects of what science either is or should be. When we talk about the human, we're talking about consciousness. But when we talk about the universe as scientists, we're not talking about something that is conscious. And that is a fuzzy boundary. A human is characterized by emotion and rationality. I insist, because this is a very important insight, that a human being can be defined this way. That is, that even consciousness will have to take account of this split, and it's superpositional once again. The superposition is between our emotional subsystem and our logical subsystem, each of which follows two mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive courses. Superpositionally, that is not true. Superposition transcends the notion of mutual exclusivity, leading to a good definition of the quantum paradox, and superposition also violates joint exhaustivity. Both of those have profound consequences, and hence superpositional logic is now considered, at least by some, and I am one of those, that is the original logic system of the universe, that the entire universe is superpositional and not dichotomous in the sense either of Oxford or of Wikipedia. Moving on, we see that emotion and rationality could also be synthesized. That is my goal, but the star that I put here, and you'll see one each for the main categories, is meant to indicate that that's the one that we want to choose. So it's not, in the first case, appropriate in my approach to try to synthesize the emotional and rational side of humanity. That's doomed to failure according to my empirical research. Humans are not prepared for that synthesis. However, we'll find that this sequence will reverse once we're ready with our conclusions from a logical, rational analysis of the universe. We will come back and we will end the entire sequence of scientific advancement with the ultimate solution for the human race. Nothing less than that will suffice as a goal now. We don't want synthesis yet. We're simply pointing out that that's how we all begin. You must be rigorous in distinguishing between the emotional subsystem of man and the rational side. We're not ready to synthesize that yet because first we need data, facts, knowledge, and understanding. Now, in the second category, it's science and or. That and sign, ampersand, and V, is ampersand vel. Vel is a Latin word that means or. It's used by logicians, and I'm using that in this sense just to have an abbreviation that's convenient to encapsulate this. It's human and or the universe. Because of the nature of synthesis, you have to say and or. It's not a dichotomy, it's a superposition. And the same is true of science and or religion. Religion can be treated separately from science as if they were violently opposed to each other, mutually exclusive, and jointly exhaustive. It's either science or religion, but not both. It turns out that's impossible to sustain. Science and religion must be synthesized, but again, we're not ready to do so at this phase. First, we must consolidate the foundation. According to the guiding principles of science, you must have a solid foundation, and we have not achieved that until we get to the data, knowledge, measurements, and the understanding derived from that. In other words, interrogate the universe itself. And that comes next. Rational science, the third of the 5 major categories here. Another superposition, the earth and the heavens. Or earth, which I consider to be the world. The earth is a planet, and so it is in heaven. And heaven is also called the cosmos in order to eliminate the religious overtone. We also want to synthesize these two aspects of rational science, because there are the earth sciences, which of course are locked to the world system, absolutely a part of science. We understand chemistry and biology through the earth sciences. But then there is one science that's completely separate from all the earth sciences, and that's basically called astronomy. But it's also called astrophysics in another context, and even extends to a most exalted and hard-to-reach concept called cosmology, which we will deal with and synthesize the earth with heaven, but we're not ready to do so yet. The fourth category down is reality, the hottest topic of all. The two superposed concepts of reality are knowledge and structure. This is a descending sequence into. It's going into. So as we go down, we're going in. Rational science is interior to the science-religion dichotomy or superposition, and reality is the scientific division of the universe into 2 parts. The world, which science calls the Earth, a planet, not the world with humans, but the planet Earth. And we want to synthesize both concepts. Quite difficult, but we will be able to do so. Let's proceed. The reality, according to rational science, has 2 parts, knowledge and structure. We'll go into that in more detail later. This is getting down to the nitty-gritty now. And the final category is universal structure, according to our knowledge of reality through structure. We want to understand the universe structurally, and there are 2 aspects to it. And this is strict superposition. We're getting down to the quantum paradox and the cosmological paradox. The last 2 categories, the star is next to synthesis. We need in science now to synthesize our knowledge and structure. We have all the data we need. We do not have all the structure we need. I believe I have discovered the structure. The final category is in and out. Out is cosmology, which we now interpret in mainline science as the Big Bang. We will definitely analyze that. The in is the quantum paradox, and we must analyze that. From that, we need to get into the nature of the major components of the universe. Space and light is one way to say it. You could say energy and matter. These are all superpositional dichotomies. This needs a platform. I'm going to go live. There will be live streaming where you can ask questions, and I am actively extending myself in order to gain a platform to promote this among the scientific community. Normally this is done with a scientific paper. I intend to accomplish that by the end of this summer. It could be sooner, but as I say, I am currently involved in a hurricane, a typhoon. It's the total synthesis of physical science into something that the common Joe can understand. That is the absolute goal of science. Science has no context except in the salvation of a human soul, in whatever context you care to regard that. I'll just add, since Richard Dawkins has made himself the Pope of atheism, if you don't have a solution for your human situation, your science is a failure, and likely worse. Richard Dawkins has clearly made his decision. He serves the ruler of the world. You and I only need to concentrate on the truth. There's not more than one. There's only one truth. And a scientist is supposed to be sworn to that. We have a major task on our hands in science to rectify the horrifying situation imposed by the world. The whole job of the world is to divert your attention from heaven, the universe, reality. And that's something you'll come to learn as you learn the truth. From Anagalactic, stay tuned. We're bringing you the secrets of the universe. I don't debate. I declare. That's the role of a true scientist. So keep looking up and tune in again. We'll have something much better next time. It's quite a process. So stay tuned and we'll be right back with you. This is Anagalactic.